All right, Cal, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
3, 2.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing. All you gotta do is sing.
Hello, we are here with the one and only Justin Brill. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Claire?
He's laughing because I'm a student of his. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna get right into it.
Yeah.
You were on the Broadway a couple times.
Yes.
Let's chat about that. What was your first thing that you did?
My first Broadway show was All Shook Up. We did an out-of-town actually here in Chicago at the Cadillac Palace Theater before we went to New York and opened it up. That ran for about 9 or 10 months, if I'm remembering correctly. I didn't do the last little bit of that. I went to do an off-Broadway musical. And then after that, a little more time passed. I did Rent for 6 months. I did that as a swing for about 6 months. And then after that was High Fidelity, which we did out of town in Boston. Before
Get Brian Yorkie.
Yes, and Amanda Green.
And Amanda Green.
The lyrics. Yeah, those are my 3 on-Broadway shows.
On Broadway shows.
Yeah.
All right. There's set building behind us as well. Let's talk about well, High Fidelity. So that lasted for a very long period of time on Broadway.
Yes, we opened on a Sunday night, and unfortunately we got our closing notice the following Tuesday. That we would only be running another week. We had a couple weeks of previews, and then we were only open officially for a week.
Which is fun.
Yes. Fascinating experience.
So if you watch the Education Broadway series that we have on the YouTubes, I took you around the first week, and I go to Columbia College Chicago. That is where Justin currently teaches. And we just did High Fidelity.
Yes.
Which, how cool was that? Did you see? I'm assuming you saw it.
Totally, yeah.
So what was that like, getting to see another version of it? Have you seen another version of it before?
Yes. There's a company here in town called Refuge Theater Project, who specializes in putting shows in kind of immersive environments. So they did 2 different versions of their production of High Fidelity in 2 different spaces. So then I saw the production here at Columbia. It's great. I think the show itself is a complicated show, and it has some certainly points of discussion that we can talk about how we can look at it moving forward as a piece of theater. But it does have some sentimental value for me. That's where I met Shanna, who was Christopher Gattelli's associate choreographer for the show. That's where we met, so it has a particular kind of nostalgia feel for me.
So you mentioned that you did Rent, and it's the first thing on his resume. What with the light of Rent Live happening and everything, what did Rent mean to you, and what did the story that Jonathan Larson created mean to you?
Oh, wow, that's a big question. I love that question. Even though my time with the show was only brief, I was in the show at a very cool time. It was right around the 10th anniversary of the show opening on Broadway. Also within that time period was the anniversary of Jonathan's passing. So a tradition that was just a beautiful tradition with that company is that his parents came and took all the company members and any alumni from the show out for a meal at the place where kind of the Life Cafe is based off of in the show. And it was just a beautiful sort of night of remembrance and connection about the story and remembering Jonathan. And that was a really powerful experience, just to, again, remembering all the human side of all these stories that, when we think about revivals and shows that seem so far in the past, it's like there was this human being that had all of this art within him that was only able to express just a fraction of it before he left. And in addition to that part of it, like growing up and being in college and connecting to myself as like an artist, Rent was one of the shows where I would listen to it in my college dorm room all the time and like play the CD and just like sing along with it. And I just loved it. I saw it once with my parents in New York, and then I saw it again when I was in college with my sister. And the show just meant a lot to me. I still have visuals in my mind of being on stage in that show that are just some of the most vibrant memories that I have of being in the show.
Yeah. We're really hoping this mic is picking us up.
Speaking of being in the show, we are in the Courtyard Theater here at Columbia, and there is a tech process happening. So
There is.
there's theater happening all around us.
Everywhere. Alright. So we're gonna jump on over to your national tour / Las Vegas that you have on this resume here. You were in Wicked
I was.
for 3.5 years? Is that what I read?
Yeah, 3.5
3.5 years as Bick.
Bach.
What was that like?
It was great. I initially joined the show for an ensemble contract, so I was in the ensemble understudying Bach, and I did that for about 6 months before the gentleman playing Bach, Ben Liebert, left to go do something else, and I tossed my name in the hat to be moved up to that principal contract. Unfortunately, it happened, so I did 3 consecutive contracts in the role itself. It was amazing. I mean, Wayne Salento and Joe Mantello, Steve Arenas, a lot of the original creative people, Stephen Schwartz came to see us when we were on tour as well. So a lot of the original creative idea makers that were part of it came and would watch the show and give us notes and do rehearsals with us and things like that. And between Wicked and Rent, just being a part of 2 shows that were very formulative for large groups of theater practitioners around the world. I feel very fortunate to be a part of 2 pivotal musicals in the canon of the last 20-25 years. And it was always amazing to go around the country and see how many people were so excited about it. Meet people that, even though the show had been running for a long time, had never seen the show before. And people that were seeing it for like 10th and 15th and 20th time. So to remember that side of it too is that every time you step on stage, there's somebody that might be seeing a show for the very first time, or might be seeing the show for like the 10th or the 20th time. But the power of creating something new and alive and vibrant each night, that's
Magic
our,
is still there.
totally,
Yeah.
and that's our responsibility and our calling as theater makers to figure out, all right, how can we do this thing when I've been doing it for 2 years?
Yeah.
How do I continue to make it fresh and alive?
So, being on tour versus being in a sit-down area, do you have a favorite, and if so, elaborate.
Both have their value. When I was in shows in New York, it's complicated because there's always the New York hustle happening.
Yeah.
Regional shows, it's a little bit different when I was based in New York because you're kind of removed from that side of the hustle and you have a little more live-in experience with that city. Being on tour is slightly different in that every couple weeks you're shifting your whole life.
Yeah.
So figuring out like where to go grocery shopping, where to find your yoga class, like how to get to the theater, traffic, parking, like all of that life stuff that you sort of take for granted when you're sitting, living in the city for a while, we have to refigure out and reestablish a routine. And that was the part that worries on me a little bit, packing up your suitcase every couple of weeks. And we were fortunate enough to have longer sit-downs, 3-4 weeks, sometimes 8 and 11 weeks at a time. So you do get a chance to kind of unsettle it. But that was the hardest part, just managing a comfortability and a groundedness in your life so that you could come to work and do your job. And in some cities that was easier than others.
So you said yoga.
Yoga.
This man is a certified yoga instructor. You did 200 hours.
Yes.
What? Why? What?
What? Why? So 200-hour certification is kind of the base level of certification to get your teacher certificate, basically, so that you're an accredited teacher of yoga, and it's a standard that's sort of established so that we have teachers that are rigorous in their education so that they can share the knowledge and pass it on to their students. When I moved to Chicago, I was just seeking something that was connected to my sense of creativity and well-being and mindfulness. And I loved practicing yoga, and I loved what it did for my identity as an artist and as a human and all of that. And I wanted to share that. I really enjoy it. I really love helping other people find a little bit more calm and mindfulness in their own lives. And that, combined with my love of theater and storytelling, it all seems to go really hand in hand, especially when it comes to teaching at Columbia and inspiring kind of new waves of storytellers finding that sense of mindfulness and self-worth and well-being within all of these challenges that each of us experience in any profession, but in the creative profession as well, when we are what we do. It's hard to separate our sense of self from the product that we are kind of selling, which is us. And I find that yoga and mindfulness go really hand in hand to create a good sense of well-being with any creative endeavor.
Well, we're waiting for that cast party at a yoga studio.
Got it.
You
I like it. Yes.
teach us some yoga. I've never done yoga.
What?
I've never done it.
Amazing. We have to figure that out.
Yeah.
We have to get you
Yeah.
a yoga class.
So, you are currently directing this little show called Allegro
Yes.
that we are doing here. And you have, look it up, I'm not going to explain it right now. Rodgers and Hammerstein. Will you explain your vision? Because it's a little different than how Rodgers and Hammerstein envisioned it.
Yeah, I think that it is kind of from that mid 20th century canon of music theater, commonly referred to as like the golden age of musical theater, which is a term that I'm kind of marinating on and trying to figure out the legitimacy of that moving forward. But it is, it was their third show that they wrote. It was not perceived as a success. It didn't last all that long on Broadway. So what we're doing with it here is trying to reimagine the piece, kind of telling a story about how America was then, the way we are now, to borrow a little bit of Lin-Manuel's language for his inspiration of what he did with Hamilton. And I love that idea of, as storytellers today, how can we take material that is kind of from a different time and has a different viewpoint of who we are and our roles and our expectations, and how we can re-envision that as how we are today to hopefully show our audience ways of moving forward together. So with our piece, we're kind of looking at the gender specifications in the script and kind of doing some different things with that to hopefully allow for some of the language that is problematic in the piece to land on new ears in a different way, to see what we can learn about moving forward with some ideas that are a little stale and old at this point.
Awesome. We're currently in rehearsal for that, and if you are in the Chicago area, come join us. February 20. I don't even know.
27th, 28th, and 29th.
27th, 28th, 29th.
Or 26th, 27th, and 28th.
All right, new location.
Yes.
We're standing now. It's an interesting. I just feel like the mic. All right, so you went to Carnegie Mellon,
Yes.
which is pretty high up for theater. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is the oldest degree-granting drama program in the country,
Yeah.
and it's just a really great school, and has produced a lot of really interesting theater artists across the century, and was a really great and challenging learning environment to be a part of.
Yeah. If I'm right, I think if my memory serves me right, Josh Gad
Yes.
was a student there, and Leslie Odom Jr.
Yes. Yep.
and Justin Brill,
Yes.
of course. Can't leave you off that wonderful list. Can you just do a little blurb about education in theater
Yeah.
and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the most frequent question that I get about theater education specifically too is this idea of conservatory, like VFA track, versus a more liberal arts based kind of VA education where you can study a lot more things. And I think that there's so many great training options available for you now, and so many great theater artists that are involved in education. It's really about what resonates with you, the individual. If you're somebody that is really seeking that kind of focused, intense path, then seek out those conservatory style programs. If you're somebody that's interested in studying anything else or having a little more rounded version of your educational experience, then seek out those programs that give you a little flexibility. Because something that I loved about my conservatory program is that it was so focused and rigorous. But looking back on it, I wish I'd had time and opportunity to study some other things. Politics, history, maybe even join like intramural sports teams, if clubs, hobbies, like if that kind of involvement was not available to me just because it was such a focused track. So think about that as far as what you want in your education, and what's going to make you feel the most engaged.
Yeah, and Columbia College Chicago here in Chicago
Yes.
is very similar to that, where you can kind of feel your way around things, and you can join the Quidditch team.
Yes.
You know, everyone dreams of being on a Quidditch team. So that is something you can do here versus Carnegie Mellon is very conservatory and straight-tracked.
Yeah, I love here at Columbia, it's really a collaborative, co-creative experience, right? There's so many different options as far as other things you can take in addition to the thing that you're focused on. We've got a great stage combat program here. We also have a comedy writing track here as well. So there are lots of different ways to enrich your own path as an artist and kind of open the blinders a little bit to see other possibilities of how you can just enrich your own process as a storyteller.
Yeah. And another thing is that it's in Chicago, so it's like New York Part 2 without the craziness.
It's
of it.
Pace of life is definitely more chill here than New York, where we have all of the big city ticket items that you could ask for.
As long as you're okay with negative 40-degree winters, you're good, you know?
Dare we say frozen?
Yeah. Oh.
You brought Josh Gad into the picture.
Yes, well, Elsa came in and visited us this past week. But you know, she's gone, and now I'll pass this summer.
Yep.
Well, thank you
Of course.
for this awesome interview.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Yes, of course. And throughout the next semester, I'm going to try and get a couple more teachers here at Columbia, so you can learn a little bit more about Columbia, but also just the feel of what it means to get an education for Broadway.
Yeah, keep studying.
Yes.
Play, learn.
We can find you on the social medias at...
I'm on Instagram, jhomeyb, JHOMEYB. I'm also on Facebook if you care to use that platform. I'm not as active on the Facebook as I am on the Instagrams, so check out my Instagram. Lots of dog pictures and some yoga stuff too.
We love his dog. Scrappy.
Yeah.
I have yet to meet Scrappy.
What? Oh, that's true. We'll make that happen. That's in the interview part 2.
We talked. Interview part 2.
Yeah.
And we'll let you know if he's ever teaching a yoga class.
Yeah.
Me nothing.